Hello. My name is Alan Cooper. It's a pleasure to be here. Bev, Todd, thank you for being such good hosts and for inviting me to be here. I've been having a lot of fun. I've been meeting a lot of people. I'm going to assume that you know that I'm connected with an interaction design company called Cooper that's been around for about 25 years. You may or may not know that it was recently sold to Design at Wipro, and so I'm a free man. You know, Paul Valery is the guy who said the artist never truly completes his work, he just abandons it. And so I'm kind of looking at interaction design and saying, okay, well, what's next? And what I want to do is give you a little taste of my thinking today. So this is a talk that I call the Oppenheimer moment. So to start out, let's do a little thought experiment. Imagine that you work at a giant social media company. Every day you access massive collections of user data, analyzing it so you can give users exactly the posts they most want to see and not the posts that they don't. Your work is so good that you've created a targeted advertising platform that's nearly perfect. Then one day you discover that Russian government hackers have used it to influence an American presidential campaign, using the psychological profiles that you created. The Russians have identified susceptible end users and flooded their feeds with hate messages, fear-mongering, and outrageous lies about progressive candidates and organizations. Then you realize that your work directly contributed to the destruction of our representative democracy. Or imagine that you are employed at the world's largest online retailer. Every day you work to perfect a powerful, easy-to-use back-end transaction processing system. Your company offers this back-office software to other retailers, both on and offline. It's so powerful, convenient, inexpensive, and easy that everyone wants to use it. Then one day, you find that the economic advantages of this system that you designed are so dominant that no other back-office software can compete. Soon, your company will be the only one handling nearly every single retail transaction in America. Like a government tax, your company makes a portion of every single retail purchase in the country. But unlike a government, they can now compel the retailer's choices, selecting which products to offer and which vendors to use. Then you realize that you have helped to create a massive commercial monopoly. Or imagine that you're a researcher at one of the world's largest tech companies. Every day you work on the bleeding edge of computer vision, navigation, and machine learning technology. This is some cool space-age stuff. The algorithms that you devise allow delivery vehicles to drive themselves and warehouses and assembly lines to work without human intervention. Then you realize that your brilliant invention will put millions of low-income people out of work. What is happening here? These unintended consequences are happening more and more often. The side effects of our work can cause significant harm. While the technology we build has made people's lives easier and better, it has also contributed to the tearing of the fabric of society. We are good people, and we do our jobs with the best of intentions. But we find to our dismay that we have enabled bad behavior and bad outcomes. Where did this evil stuff come from? Are we evil? The founders of our companies, they're not evil. They tell us so. Our managers are not evil, nor are any of us trying to be bad. We go to work every day genuinely expecting to make the world a better place with powerful technology. But somehow, evil is sneaking in despite our good intentions. There's a mechanism at work here that we don't fully understand. We need to understand how this phenomenon works so that we can isolate it and prevent it. In the 1940s, Robert Oppenheimer headed up the Manhattan Project. This was the largest scientific effort that the world had ever seen, chartered with inventing the atomic bomb. The United States wanted the bomb in order to end World War II, and arguably it succeeded at that task. Oppenheimer was a brilliant scientist, working on unimaginably challenging and important work. He was fully dedicated to this great achievement. But when Oppenheimer saw the first atomic explosion, he realized that he had created evil. This was Oppenheimer's moment. Not only was he a god of physics and science, but now he was Mars. He was Ares. He had also become a god of war. The awesome tool he created for his country could and would bring enormous pain, chaos, suffering, and death. How did this happen to him? Today, we, the tech practitioners, those who design, develop, and deploy technology, are having our own Oppenheimer moments. It's that moment when you realize that your best intentions were subverted by people using your product in unexpected and unwanted ways. It's that moment when you realize that even though you aren't racist, your algorithms might be. It's that moment when you realize that your software, designed to bring people together, instead is driving them apart into tribal isolation. It's that moment when you realize that the social and economic checks and balances that prevent excess and abuse don't exist anymore, and nothing harnesses your creation, and it's beginning to run amok. How did this happen to us? Now, my first thoughts are, who can we blame? It's hard to blame the technology because we know that it can do good as well as evil. It's easy to blame the founders, your coworkers, the venture capitalists, your annoying boss, but they're just as troubled by this as we are. The blogosphere is awash in long-form commentary, asking, how can we bring ethics back to technology? Tony Fadell, the founder of Nest, wants a Hippocratic oath for designers, where they pledge to work ethically and do no harm. Sam Altman, the president of Y Combinator's, writing an ethics constitution. Bill Gates is giving billions to charity. Fingers are pointing in every direction, but nobody seems to be culpable. It's as though the Titanic ship of technology is sinking, but we never hit an iceberg. We're filling with water, but nobody can find the leak. We keep searching for the giant rip in the hull caused by the evil iceberg or the evil captain or the evil shipbuilders, but we find no evil, and we find no giant hole. Yet the water keeps getting deeper. Trying to find a single point of failure or origin of malice only works on simple systems. But all of the tech products we build are complex systems, and their networked environment is yet another level of complex system. The water, the evil, isn't coming from one big hole, but from a constellation of tiny ones, like 100 million microscopic laser-drilled holes in the hull of the Titanic. They collectively add up to a fatally huge gash. Clearly, this is a systems problem. Systems problems are by nature distributed ones, and their solutions are distributed too. We put those millions of tiny leaks into the system. There was no malice, no evil. We all had the best of intentions. Our tech changes so fast, it renders our intentions irrelevant and inadequate. Our innocence isn't sufficient. We have to master this system. Evil is a permutation of something positive, but once it emerges, it's too late. That's why we have to prevent the leaks rather than trying to prevent evil. We need to understand how our well-intentioned work permutes into bad. We need to identify places where permutations are likely. We need to seal off those microscopic risk vectors. And we need to do it in a way that transcends the technology, so it's long-term, so that it's sustainable. There's a lot of work to do, but first we have to have a clear goal. The founders of Facebook, Google, and 1,000 other companies, large and small, have as their primary goal to generate revenue, make a profit, and grow. Their secondary goal is to not be evil, to do no harm. There is abundant proof that this does not work. The goals that generate revenue, make profits, and grow the company, they don't work for not being evil. The goal is too vague, too simplistic, and too hard to relate to the daily work of tech. And don't be evil is always in second place, and it always loses to the imperatives of making money. That's why, although our technical innovation is making us lots of money, we're still doing a lot of harm. We need a new goal, one that addresses all of our needs, and it must take precedence in our jobs and in our lives. We need a goal that makes us better citizens first, without stopping us from making money second. And here's my proposal. I want to be a good ancestor. Our goal should be to create a better world for our children and grandchildren and for the children of others. Every day you must ask yourself, does this make the world a better place? Now, conservative political dogma says that you can either make money or you can be a good citizen, but not both. I think this is a lie. Like all zero-sum games, it's a lie. And as Steve Jobs said, profit is a side effect of creating great products. By making good ancestry our primary goal, we can work to prevent our products from turning evil, and we can still build profitable businesses. So while there is value in making money, I value even more making the world a better place for our children. Being a good ancestor is my goal, and I want you to make it your goal too. Thank you. Now, while the first step is having a clear goal, there are many subsequent steps needed to solve this challenge. It's all giving me a strong sense of déjà vu, that sensation where you feel like you've been here before. 25 years ago, as personal computing was exploding on the world, it was clear that technology was hard to use. Everyone knew that we needed to make software user-friendly, but no one knew exactly how to do that. Back then, plenty of smart people thought that it couldn't even be done. Someone had to define user-friendly in measurable ways, then develop a taxonomy for the field. They had to invent a set of tools, create a process framework, establish clear examples demonstrating the benefits, train a cadre of skilled practitioners, and then take that show on the road and proselytize it. That's what I did for interaction design during the 90s and the aughts. Today, the important role of user-centered design in technology is well known. It's even taken for granted. So if there's a voice in your head saying, well, we can't do this, silence that voice. Now it's time to do the same thing that I did for IXD, for being a good ancestor. Renato Verdugo, someday I'll have slides for this talk, and you can see a picture of my handsome friend. He's my brilliant young Chilean collaborator, and we are developing a framework and tools for what we call ancestry thinking. The first step is awareness of the problem. It's vital that practitioners pay attention to how their products are applied in the real world by actual users. There are countless clear examples of good intentions going awry, and we need to seek them out, examine them, and understand their pathology. The second step is creating a language, a taxonomy that lets us see where and how those millions of tiny holes get drilled into the hull of technology. We've identified 3 main vectors by which bad behavior creeps into your product: assumptions, externalities, and time. And we examine these 3 vectors by asking ourselves some hard questions. We must ask, what assumptions are we making? In order for our product or service to work, certain conditions must be true. But which of those conditions are unexamined? Bad ancestry lurks there. For example, there's a video going around the web of a bathroom soap dispenser that works fine if your skin is white. But when a black person puts his hand under it, it doesn't dispense soap. There were assumptions in the development of this product. For another example, there's a disaster relief website that assumes you have power and Wi-Fi. Assumptions are only bad if they're wrong, or will be wrong someday. Therefore, we have to identify and make clear every assumption. Assumptions hide critically important things from us. Things like opportunities and untapped potential, hidden costs, deadly weaknesses, competitor strengths, systemic bias, neglect, and abuse. Unexamined assumptions become dogma, and dogma is the opposite of intentionality. And to be a good ancestor, we can't let anything hide. We must be intentional. We must ask, what externalities are we creating? Externalities are those things that affect us or that we affect that are pushed out of our attention, whether by choice, neglect, or ignorance. Everything we do is part of a complex web, and nothing is completely external. Every Monday, a big green truck comes to take my trash away. But there really is no away. It takes my trash down to the landfill by the river. My children are going to have to deal with that landfill. In tech, it's easy to say, that's not my problem. But that's how you create an externality, an excellent mechanism for letting bad ancestry creep into your world. For example, there's a rideshare company that provides a great car hire experience for riders, but it regards the driver's welfare as someone else's problem. This makes them a bad citizen, and they are degrading our civilization. Another example, a giant retailer prides itself on offering the lowest prices to its shoppers, but it doesn't pay its employees a living wage. This evil externality forces them into second jobs and food stamps. Probably the most challenging externality today is smart algorithms. Everyone, even technologists, abdicate their responsibility when it's the software that's making the decisions. So, for an example, there's a company that makes hiring software, and its black box algorithms access your past hiring performance in order to recommend new job applicants. But the nasty externality they create with their algorithm is that it invisibly sustains existing racial and gender prejudices, and nobody questions it. Externalities hide in our point of view, our ignorance, our social norms, and the systems we use. In the world of complex systems, there really is no such thing as an externality. Everything affects us more powerfully than we imagine. To be a good ancestor, we must internalize all the effects of our actions. And the third question we must ask, what time frame are we using? What is the lifespan of our actions, our products, and their effects? The uncertain future is racing towards us. Our tools for peering ahead are weak, and yet we design and act based on the way things are right now. I'm a perfect example of this. Software I wrote back in the 1970s conserved precious memory by using only 2 numbers for the year. The turn of the millennium, 2000, seemed so far away, and I was one of the guys who helped create the Y2K bug. All of our social systems bias us towards a presentist focus. Capitalist markets, rapid technological advance, professional reward systems, and industrial management. You have to ask yourself, how will this be used in 30 years? When will it die? What will happen to its users? Not only is time itself a mechanism of bad ancestry, but it's also one of the biggest assumptions we make. And it's also one of the biggest externalities that we create. To be a good ancestor, we must look at the entire lifespan of our work. In 2016, I spoke with activist blogger Anil Dash about the state of the tech industry. And he posed a rhetorical question. Why aren't we teaching ethics in engineering schools? His challenge really got under my skin, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. But ethics, ooh, boring, pedantic, old, stodgy, off-point, old. It's hard to imagine a subject less interesting than technology and the E word. Fortuitously, I had recently been talking with folks at the UC Berkeley Engineering School about teaching something there. Renato Verdugo, my new friend and collaborator, agreed to help, and we are currently co-teaching a semester-long class called Thinking Like a Good Ancestor at the Jacobs Institute for Design Innovation on the Berkeley campus. We are introducing our students to the fundamentals of how technology can lose its way, of awareness and intentionality. We're giving the students our taxonomy of assumptions and externalities and time. Instead of focusing on how tech behaves badly, we're focusing on how good tech is allowed to become bad. We're not trying to patch the holes in the Titanic, but prevent them from occurring in future tech. As the saying goes, the best way to learn something is to teach it. Renato and I are learning fast, and we're honing our ideas. But we expect those brilliant young students at Berkeley to take ancestry thinking out into the world. We expect them to make it a better place for all of our children. I believe that the future is in the hands of the hands-on. We are the practitioners. We are the makers. We are the ones who design, develop, and deploy software-powered technology. Ultimately, we, the craftspeople who make the artifacts of the future, have more effect on the world than the business executives and the investment community. While it may not be our fault that our products let evil leak in, it is certainly our responsibility to prevent it. We need to show why and how ancestry thinking is the way forward. We need to demonstrate that it prevents badly behaved products. We need to show that it doesn't hurt our ability to make money. And most of all, we need to show why we need this. The welfare of our children is at stake, and we need to attend to their needs. Taking care of our offspring is the best way to take care of ourselves. Thank you. Thank you. I have only one more thing to say, and then I'm out of here, which is ancestrythinking.com. It's the world's ugliest website. It went up yesterday, and all it will do is it will take your name and email, and someday we'll have more. Thank you. Thank you so much.